Oh my. Oh my, oh my. Would I be satisfied if I was served this in an Indian restaurant or takeaway? This is better, and that's no word of an exaggeration. That's what we're going to cook today, but we're going to cook it basic method. No, in other words, no base gravy from scratch, using the method that we use with our basic chicken curry. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, this is not a one-pan curry, it's a two-pan curry. So we're going to take this pan, which is my new favourite cast iron pan, and we're going old school with an aluminium pan. Why are we using that? Well, we're just going to saute our peppers and onions in this pan, set that aside, and then add them a little bit later. So let's get our heat on. We're going with 200 millilitres of extra virgin olive oil. Now you can use whatever oil you want. Please don't leave comments below that, you know, that's not authentic, whatever. Use whatever oil you like. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this 200 ml of oil, probably about, I don't know, about 30 ml of oil in our aluminium pan, just so that we can saute. We'll get that hot. We're trying to go for an authentic type of taste, so we're going to use whole spices in it. We're going to use some kala jeera, which is black cumin, but if you haven't got that or you can't access that, don't you worry, just use regular cumin, it'll be okay. The only difference with kala jeera is it's just less stringent. It's a little bit, it has a little bit more of a smoother flavour to it than your regular cumin. Just a level teaspoon of our kala jeera. We're going to take 6 green cardamom, and we're just going to basically crack open the husks. I'm just using a spatula, you can use the back of a knife, anything, you just hear them crack, and they're just going to go in the pan. If you're familiar with this basic method, you'll know that basically we take 2 onions. This is a recipe for 4, by the way. We take 2 onions and we blitz them to almost like a paste. If you haven't got a blitzer like the one I've got here, which is so convenient, many Asian households have these, then you could just grate them and you get a similar result, but you can see that they're very finely chopped, which is how we get our smooth sauce. So we're just going to add in our onions. And what we're going to do is just going to add a little bit of salt. We're going with about 1.5 teaspoons of salt in this recipe, so I'll just take a good couple of pinches from that and just add that into our red onions just to help soften them. And the reason we're going with the onions first, before we add the peppers, is they just take a little bit longer. There's a secret ingredient in this jalfrezi that takes it over the top. And it's a secret ingredient from my curry to go days. So when we ran our takeaway in Chorley in Lancashire, we used to use this ingredient in our jalfrezi, which just gave it something else. You'll see what that is a little bit later. Now this is a chicken tikka jalfrezi. So we're using chicken tikka, which has been cooked in my air fryer. Now, if you've not seen that video for chicken tikka, which is how we cook this chicken tikka, I'll post a card or a video just at the end of this video for you to go and check out. So I'm just going to add in our peppers. So we've got a mixture here of red, yellow and green peppers. And the reason for that, it's not so much flavour, but it's more just colour. We want this jalfrezi to not only be tasty, super tasty, which it is, we want it to be visually appealing too. So we're going to have lots of colour. Hence we're going with the red onion as well. We've been sauteing these peppers and onions for about 4 or 5 minutes, which is all they need. It's just to take that rawness off them, because they will cook in our curry. And we can take out our main pan now that we're going to cook this recipe with. That's my cast iron wok. I'm loving this pan. So our pan's nice and hot, so we're going to go in with our the remainder of the 200 millilitres of oil, which will be about 170 millilitres. We're going to take our blended onions and we're just going to add them in. And we want to cook these onions for about 5 to 6 minutes. So what we'll do, just to help them along, is we'll take the rest of our salt and we'll add the salt in. That will help the onions soften. And you want to cook these on about a medium to high heat. We're going to put on our lid and we'll cook these for about 5 to 6 minutes. So it's been 6 minutes. Have a look in the pan. And You can see they're taking on a light brown colour. Some of the onions are starting to cook nicely. The oil's separating from the onions, which is another indication that most of the moisture that's in the onions has left. So they're now cooking and they're getting nice and sweet. So that's looking really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a teaspoon amount of methi. I'm going to put that into my hands like this, and I'm going to give it a really good scrunch to almost turn it into a powder. You release the oils of the methi and you just get much more flavour. Now we're just going to add in a heaped tablespoon amount of garlic ginger paste. This is just 50-50, my homemade garlic ginger paste. Now that smell of garlic, ginger and methi leaves is like the smell of an Indian restaurant. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little something, and I mentioned this in my book, that when we were running our unit, our takeaway in Chorley, if we wanted to, we used to do a lunchtime trade as we were a daytime business. If I wanted to get a queue forming outside my unit before we put the shutters up, I used to take a pan, put some oil in it, cook some onions, some garlic, some ginger, some methi leaves. That's it. Just cook that and turn the extractor on. We had this big industrial extractor, and it would blow that smell out into the street, we were right in the centre of Chorley. And people would be like, what is that? Honestly, people would queue up outside the unit and they'd go, what are you cooking? Because that smells amazing. It was just garlic, ginger, methi leaves, oil and onions. That was it. That is the foundation of that Indian restaurant taste that we're so used to. Right, okay, so now it's time for our spices. So we're going to go in with a teaspoon amount of turmeric powder, 2 teaspoons of red Kashmiri chili powder. Don't use extra hot. It won't work. With 2 teaspoons of coriander powder. This is freshly ground. I grind it fresh. And then we're going to go in with 1 teaspoon of cumin powder. And we've also got some Raja Madras curry powder. We're going to go in with a teaspoon of that. That'll help you get that Indian restaurant taste, because they use Raja Madras powder a lot in the Indian restaurants. So you don't want to rush this. You just want to take about a good 45 seconds to a minute just extracting those flavors. You can smell them when they're ready. Now if it's getting a little bit, looking a little bit dry in the pan, don't worry about it. Hot water is your friend here. Just add a little bit in, and that just buys you a little bit more time. Don't ever let it get ahead of you. Some people panic when they're cooking, especially if you're cooking with higher temperatures or it's a new recipe. But water is your friend. If things getting a bit dry, a bit intense looking in the pan, just add a little bit of water in there. It will lengthen the cooking process and it will stop your spices from burning as well. And that is smelling wonderful, it really is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our vine ripe tomatoes. We've got 2 of these large ones, and I'm just going to cut them in half, put them pan down like that. Now this will probably take about 8 to 10 minutes. We're going to add a bit of hot water just to aid this process. So just add a little bit of water. What we're going to do is we're going to put the lid on, and this is going to allow these tomatoes in about 8 to 10 minutes. I'll just check them in about 8 minutes to soften to the point that we can just literally lift the skins off. So I'm going to take the lid off our pan. And you can see, if you look in the pan, guys, that the skins of the tomatoes have broken whole. Can you see that? So now we can mash these tomatoes. Just take a masher, potato masher. We'll take our chicken tikka that we cooked in our air fryer, and we're going to put that into the pan at this stage. But this chicken tikka recipe, honestly guys, you've got to check it out, because it really produces a fantastic juicy chicken tikka. Now we've made our chicken tikka with chicken thigh, and that's part of the secret here, because we're getting a much more juicy, flavorful and less dry. Now here's a little tip for you. Here we've got, and you can see it's almost like a jelly. This is the juice that collected in the bottom of my air fryer. So when I cooked my chicken tikka in the air fryer, the chicken juices with all the yogurt marinade and the spices and the flavors dripped below the tray to the bottom of the air fryer, and you don't want to throw that away, because there's a lot of flavor in there, and it's not just fat. Look, it's just delicious. So we've got about tablespoon amount of that. And we've got a whole big bunch of coriander, about 2 handfuls, and I've got big hands. So we're going to take a good handful here, like that, and we're going to put that in because we want to get not only the flavour of this coriander, fresh coriander, with the stalks, so don't neglect to add in the stalks because the stalks hold a lot of flavour. So we're going to get the heat back on, and we're going to add in this little secret extra ingredients that we used to put in our jalfrezi at Curry to Go, and it's this chili pickle. Can you see that? Now, people use other types of pickles. They use naga, for example, which is great, but here's a warning: don't go mad with this. If you add too much of this, it will kill your curry. It will dominate the curry. It'll take over every other flavour in the curry. We don't want that. We're going with less is more here. So we're literally just going to go with, so it's like that much. Can you see? And don't forget, this is a curry for 4, so it's not a lot. And we just drop that in. Remember our first pan? So we've got our peppers, we've got our onions, we've got those whole spices, the kala jeera, and the cardamom. So we can just add that into our pan. That is not only looking so good, it's smelling amazing. So we could probably add a little bit of water here if we just want to. I want a little bit more sauce than that, so I'm just going to add just a little, like that. So now the peppers are in a mix, we just add in our tomato. So this is our 3rd tomato. Obviously we use 2 for the sauce, halved. This 1 tomato we've quartered. So if you factor in like 1 piece of tomato per person, because this is a recipe for 4. And we also add in at this stage our green chilies. Now we've gone here with 8 green chilies. These are the Asian chilies, and I've sliced them in half. And the reason that I've done that, in some recipes I'll just snap them and throw them in the pan because I like them whole. But we're wanting the heat that comes from these chilies to infuse into our sauce. So we've exposed the seeds. How good is that looking, guys? That jalfrezi. So we're going to now cook it for another 5 minutes with the lid on. So lid on, back in 5. It's been about 5 minutes. We'll take this lid off, give it a bit of a release from the bottom of the pan. And to be honest with you, that sauce level, can you see that, guys? That is probably right for me, that. If you want a little bit more sauce at this stage, just add a little bit of water. But the idea behind the jalfrezi is the dry fry method, which gives it the intense flavours, which is what we're going for with this. So we're going to add a bit more fresh coriander, because again, we want that colour, we want that flavour of the fresh coriander. We're going to now add in 2 tablespoons of natural yogurt, and this will give a tang, a real tang to our jalfrezi. Now in the takeaway, we used to add in not natural yogurt, we would add in our masala sauce, which is yogurt based, obviously with some extra spices, but we don't need those extra spices because there's enough going on in the pan. So we're just going with the yogurt here, and the yogurt will really add just a lovely balance really to the curry. So the other ingredient we're going to add is our garam masala, and this is the garam masala that I cover on our online course, the British Indian Restaurant Secrets Revealed course. It's an online course where we taught students in person at a restaurant how to cook British Indian restaurant style, but we went through absolutely everything in that course, and we filmed it and turned it into an online video course. And if you're interested in that, you can check it out in the link below. We've had thousands join up to that course. We've had chefs from all over the world open restaurants and takeaways on the back of that course. It was myself, Adi, and we shared everything we knew on that course, including this 17 spice garam masala. So we're just going to add that in, but get any garam masala that you can. A good one will usually have 10 to 12 spices. Some of the cheaper varieties will only have 6 or 7, and that will really lift our curry, this garam masala. So let's serve it up and do the taste test. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Would I be satisfied if I was served this in an Indian restaurant or takeaway? This is better, and that's no word of an exaggeration, than what I find in my look. Even some of the best restaurants I know round here where I live, in Preston, they don't produce a chicken tikka jalfrezi like this. So I'm going to take a bit of a pepper, bit of red pepper, bit of a tomato, and some of the sauce. No chicken does taste that on its own. Oh man. Those intense flavours that a good jalfrezi should have. Make that this weekend, guys, and tell me what you think. I love to hear back from you as to the results you're getting. Some of you are getting phenomenal results using this basic method of curry without a base gravy. So as always, guys, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Happy currying.